From New York City to Los Angeles, Powered Up Talk Radio is giving women of all ages permission to live the life they'd always dreamed of. Here are your hosts, Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin.
Hi, everybody. This is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Linda Franklin, and we have another great episode of Powered Up Talk Radio with Lisa Transcendence Brown, and today we're going to talk about love. Now, love is such an amazing thing because we can feel love, we can not feel love. Like right now, Linda and I this morning, we were talking about how she's grumpy, I'm frustrated, lots going on. And I'm so glad that we can talk to Lisa today because, like Lisa, I'm going through this refinance modification, trying to keep me and the kids in this house. Linda's is grieving from Lucy. She's got her own health things going on. We have all this stuff going on. And I jump, like my light body doesn't pay the mortgage. My light body doesn't fix my car that broke down this week. So these things now cause this competing
your perception. I'm going to play with you in a minute. Go ahead.
Oh, good. I love that. I love that because you got to play with Linda and I didn't get to play that.
We're going to play. We're going to go. Yeah.
So, where is love? What is love with the light body when things are crashing down around you?
Well, understanding the reason they're crashing is the reason they're crashing is because our realities were built upon constructs that weren't pure. And so what happens is we are in, and people, we talk, and when I say certain things, I'm just making points. There's not 1 ounce of judgment. There's not 1 ounce of anybody has to do anything. This is how the whole process works. Once you go through it, you understand it all, which is why we re-educate everybody through the highest state of consciousness possible, which is love. Okay. But it's a different love. It's a soul love. It's a cosmic love. It's a love where we're all so deeply connected and all of the old stuff doesn't apply. All the old rules don't apply anymore. And so this is a restructuring of our realities that take us deep inside of ourselves to find that pure love. This is about pure love. Soul love is pure. So everything else that isn't is all human programming. The whole thing. When I see realities, I see the constructs, I see the matrices and everything. Every word has a matrix, every belief system has a matrix, they all do. And you can see the geometrics of the entire belief system and how it comes to be. And so breaking down all those belief systems and programs, our human aspect doesn't have a clue. Our human aspect can't see. The light body. So when you said to me, so we're going to talk about frustrating and grumpy, that's a vibrational tuning. That's getting that energy out of the body. So if we actually understand what's going on, it's us looking at our reality and being frustrated. It's just about the level of density we hold. Okay. So time to the typical human. And I'm going to say this really quick. I bebop all over the place because I am 9,000% quantum. I don't live in linear anything, okay? I see the energy of everything. I see what's aligned. I see everything in vibrational and tuning and all this kind of stuff. We see the geometrics and the codes and things that the typical human aspect of ourselves can't see.
Okay.
When you live from a quantum state of consciousness, everything is simple and easy. It's not complicated. But the transition from a linear reality, which is what everybody's going through, it flips the world upside down. Mm-hmm. It's called a pole flip. Inside of each person, you will actually go through a pole flip where your north hemispheres and your south hemispheres of your body, everything flips, and where we used to function. And I'm going way back in a way for me, so bear with me a moment. When we first go through our first major pole flip, if you will, and this has been happening our whole life. It's just the moment we start becoming aware. It's just the moment that we gain that new awareness. It's just the moment we weren't conscious before, we didn't understand. And so that pole flip, what it does is it flips your whole human reality upside down. It forces each person, if you will, out of the root chakra into the heart chakra. And I'm going to chakras for a moment, because once you hit the 5th dimension, the whole chakra system collapses. Everything turns into portals and vortexes and stuff in the body. It's all energetic. The frustration is a clearing of linear.
Okay.
all of this is linear clearing. This is all linear time. This is all linear constraints. This is all linear beliefs. This is all linear, and it's housed in the body, and it's what makes everything feel like it's taken so long or going so slow.
Okay.
It's density in the body that's got to be clear. The linearity is the density. And so that's what separates time. That's why time appears, for the human aspect, time is different than it is for us. We don't live within time at all. Time doesn't exist except we see it, we understand, but it all becomes an energetic flow. So when you're in unison with your universe, everything's easy and simple. So it's about getting 3D and 4D functions from duality and separation. 5D, if you will. And you know me, I break everything down into dimensions, and then I'm gonna come back around. 5D is a process, and it isn't that you wake up one day in 5D. The whole time it is achieving a fifth dimensional level of consciousness within ourselves, so that we can live a 5D life. And then 60, 70, we go so far beyond that, because right now we just completed the 12D template, which is beyond beautiful. But all this stuff happens inside of our body as each person's light body activates. So when you say, and it's funny because I taught a class the other day, and what we don't understand is ascension. Your light body is your abundance. It will do everything. The difference is you, on a human level, your ego doesn't get to control anything anymore. You have to surrender to a process where you don't get a say-so. Your light body is your soul body. So you're saying my soul won't support. I got to break this down to say what, so we can understand on an energetic level, the belief systems and stuff. Is that what you just said to me is my light body won't pay the bills. You just said, my not understanding that your light body, your physical body goes through a complete immense DNA rewrite and a body template rewrite that reconstructs your whole life, so that your soul you become your soul. The fifth dimension is you are your soul. So your fifth dimensional reality is realigned, so that I'm saying this, Sandra, to make a point. Your ego, human aspect, is the one talking to me when you say my light body won't pay the bills.
Right, the fear, like that.
When in essence, it's a deep soul connection. It's you connecting on a soul level with your higher aspect of yourself and surrendering and trusting that it will take care of you. It will look out for you. It wants you to have the most amazing life. It's your ego that has to go through the breakdown process. It's your ego that carries the programming. It's the ego, and it's to really pay attention to which aspect you're listening to. Your ego's job is to keep you in an unconscious reality. That's the whole point.
Got it.
Your
so
ego's
necessarily. That's why ego always comes in with the negative, because my ego doesn't tell me, hey, this is going to be fine. The refi is going to be great. That ego is telling me it's going to be all these problems.
The ego is the separation from source consciousness.
Okay. And so if ego can get me in that fear state,
then you will live in fear until all that programming breaks down and you believe and you connect inside. Your soul is pure love. Your soul is pure abundance. Your soul. So what you're saying, see, these are perceptions. And what we're dealing with is misperceptions of the ego that doesn't understand. When we connect with our higher selves, all of them, there's a bazillion of them. Somebody asked me today, how many do you have? They're infinite. This is part of why people feel so psychotic, is when each higher self starts activating, then that aspect has a lower self. And then you're going to go through all the distortions of that higher self. And so there's a bazillion higher selves that we go through in order to clear. And I say different words because as we separated off and went to deep asleep, into a state of amnesia, that's called unconsciousness. That's where we separated off from source consciousness. We're source consciousness. Your light body is your conscious body. So what you're saying in essence to me, it's all BS. So we just start breaking it down so we understand. The belief system of what you had was telling me source consciousness, your soul, isn't going to be able to assist you with any of this. Your soul, which is the opposite of the truth. The ego is the opposite of the truth.
Okay.
It's the opposite. If you maintain that level of separation inside of yourself, you have to do it all by yourself. You don't have anybody guiding you and telling you how easy it can be.
Okay.
And so your light body, your soul body, and the way we activate our soul body is to go deep inside and find the connection and make it our priority. Your light body becomes your priority here. My light body made my life easy. My light body is how everything, my light body is my priority. It became number one. And because what you're saying is when your light body becomes number one, your soul just became number one. You're no longer on an ego level going to compromise your soul. You're no longer, because what happens is when we separate off, we don't want to listen to our soul on a human level because it's going to make us do things we don't like. The ego doesn't like the soul. I'm breaking this down to make a point. Because it's going to make us do what's highest aligned. It's going to challenge us to do the thing that we know we need to do, have to do, to live a pure life. Because it doesn't fit into our human reality the way our human reality was constructed on an ego level. And so when we start to realize if we will just open up, you're opening up to love. You're opening up to this very pure place, and it's a vibrational transmission. It's all of these different things. When you transmit love out, that's what you recall back to you to experience here. When you transmit lack out, that's the reality that you are creating to experience here. It's a level of trust. What you're saying to me is, I don't trust my soul. When in essence, it's not your soul that can't be trusted, it's your human ego.
Right. It's the opposite.
Everything is the opposite as we believe. But if we play in that belief system, then we're playing in separation. And so you're basically saying to me, I'm believing my ego over my soul.
Okay.
And so it really means being that conscious and that aware of every word we say. Being that in tune with yourself and really listening to the stories. We call them lies. When it's the ego, it's a lie. Okay, it's the old illusion, the old belief systems, it's the matrix program. But a lot of people don't understand there's a bazillion matrices. There isn't just one. Everything has a matrix. It's a geometric makeup of the dynamics of that entire reality. And higher consciousness, what you're doing is you're going through the makeup of your reality and you're realigning it through purity and love. You're realigning your life. You're realigning through vibrational, it's harmonics. Bringing everything into harmony, bringing everything into purity, bringing everything into where you function from your highest place instead of your ego. Because when you have egos involved, then it's still going to be trying to recreate realities from an unconscious place, from a place of fear, from a place of lack, from a place of not enough. When in essence, your soul lives from pure, when you live from pure gratitude, where you come from is different. On a soul level, you are so deeply connected with everything, you actually care. You're so deeply connected with everything. You care about the people in your lives. You care about others. You care about strangers. You just love. You love with every fiber of your being, which changes your reality because you actually treat each other with respect. Mm-hmm. You actually see beyond the current reality. Humans can't see beyond their own reality. Other realities don't exist. Mm-hmm. On a soul level, you see beyond yourself. You see everything as it is, and then you stand as responsible for creating. You stand, you own it. This is my reality. I create the whole thing. I can either create it, recreate it, realign it through love, or I can keep playing in the separation and the lack in the belief systems and the fears. What we don't understand is that as long as we keep playing in those mentalities, those are the realities we keep experiencing here.
Lisa?
So it's really love conquers fear.
Love obliterates fear. Love, yes, ma'am, Miss Linda. I know, I hear you, but this is about shifting to a place of love and unity, unifying inside of yourself, transcending duality to move to a state of unity consciousness within yourself. You're a unified being of light. You're a light being. And it's a process. It takes years and years and years. This is not an overnight process. This is a DNA evolution thing. This is a...
Do all human beings here have the same density? Because I've been doing a lot of work and reading a lot of books about people that have had NDEs, people that have left and come back, and they seem to have a different portal that allows different things, or they hear or see or realize or download different things that make them more open to believing that other things exist. But I don't believe that I've had one of those, and although I've never questioned, because I believe it 100%. But you've never talked about that either, about spirit, about how do we mesh that into all of this light being and consciousness?
Okay. I love the words, all this light being stuff. It's like all this weird stuff. How do we make our real? Okay, so here's the thing. I'm gonna say this to make a point so that we can understand, but it's much more vast than anything I say. We can sit here and talk about everything forever. It will never end because there's so much information, okay? And it's light encoded data. It's information that's in our DNA. And your light body activates where all of this is held inside of you. So every time we go, say the light body won't do this, like that, that's all BS. Okay, your light body is everything. That's where all your information, that's where all the purity, that's where the love, that's everything you desire. All your abundance is through your light body. It's the opposite of everything the ego believes and says. Near-death experiences are through a immense expansion of consciousness. And it's a part of ego death. Okay? And so what will happen is when somebody, and I went through many near-death experiences because I was so deep asleep. I had to be brought to the brink of death to wake me up.
So you've experienced that?
Oh, many times. But then what will happen?
About it, but I had a feeling that.
Oh yeah, star seeds actually choose the harshest and the roughest journeys here. And so star seeds, we actually have to go because we don't want to be on this planet or in this earth in the beginning. We don't even want to be in these bodies. We want to be out of here. And so star seeds, there's a lot of near-death experiences for the star seed when it's time to wake up, but it's also an activation of consciousness. It's an activation of consciousness beyond the physical, where we can actually merge and connect and see from a higher state of consciousness. And the perception of what a near-death experience is different once you achieve a certain place inside of you and you understand. The human will call it near-death experience because it occurs in the moment that expansion occurs. Our ego, I have to explain this for many different ways. Our ego is in charge until that moment. So in a near-death experience, what happens is your consciousness takes over and you expand to become consciousness. And the ego completely dissolves in that moment. It doesn't exist. And you will have these experiences all along the way. It's a part of moving into higher state of consciousnesses. And eventually your body doesn't have to reach the brink of a near-death experience because it's gone through all the DNA repair to get it to a higher dimension. Literally, what happens is our body is evolving on a multidimensional level to get the body's vibration high enough to leave the third dimension, to leave the fourth dimension. And the light body is a DNA repair body. And what it does is it works through your DNA. It works through the density. I'm going to come back to your question about density in a moment, Linda, but it's not a simple answer as we think. Density is how tight and packed our body is. how muscular our body is, the density of our bones, the density of our blood. It's how packed. It's the physical matter and light ratio in the body. And so, you know, like this morning I get up and I'm writing a thing on the photonic light. There's a light body. We have different light body phases. And right now we're in, it's called a photonic biosuit. And basically our body's going through, it's the ability to process light intelligence. It's the ability to process light encoded data. It's the ability, our body, our human carbon-based body doesn't have the capability to process light. It shuts down. That's why it has to go to sleep. That's why all the emotions have to come up. They're in the way. The light body doesn't have all the human emotions. We don't have the lower emotions in our body. We clear them from our body. It's a ridiculous process, if you will, of clearing programming. They're all programs. And so programs, mentalities, belief systems, attachment, separation, these are the words we use. They all are relative based upon where we are in that given moment. Density will become felt, become visible. The body will get bigger when it's clearing density, because inside of our body, photonic light starts moving through the body and it actually activates the density and it feels very heavy. You will feel the body so our perception of what density isn't weight. It's linear construct. It's physical matter mass. It's how compacted it is. And as our body starts changing, the light body goes through the body and activates on a photonic level.
Lisa, just let me ask, when that starts to happen, when the light body starts to go through you, do all of the, let's say, little maladies that you've had all your life that have sort of been laying dormant, do they all of a sudden like spring up like a volcano because they're looking to leave your body?
That they're looking for your body has to clear that. That's called density. All of those things that you just said, that is density. And so what we perceive density as is different than what density actually is. Density is the program. Density is the emotion. It's everything that weighs on you. It's everything that's heavy. It's everything that is, density is slow. And so like if I come around somebody who still functions very linearly, their processing rate is ridiculous. It takes them days and days and days to understand on a level, because we function from the depth of the core of our being on a soul level. We function from that. Everybody's like, oh, this is intense. Oh, that's deep. Well, that's your soul. That's where it functions from. Well, to get to that place inside of us, and this is a massive process, so it's not one thing, it's all of them. Higher dimension, I need to say this really quick, Linda, then I'm gonna come back to your question. I've had to say this a lot lately because our human aspect doesn't understand. 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D, 7D, they are a density to light ratio. They are a photonic light they are a quantum state of consciousness versus a linear state of consciousness. Density is not what we think it is. When we're clearing density, our body gets bigger so that our cells can release. And so it's a cellular thing. It's not a what you see.
Right. It's not like we're just exploding into bigness and then retract.
No, but I've gotten big over the years, because what happens is consciousness is activating from inside of your body and it's expanding from the inside out. And so that consciousness is photonic light. It's all these different, it's not one thing. Everybody says, what is consciousness? It's everything. It's just not what we thought it was or understood, because you actually have to go through it in order to understand how it all works. And you have to have gone through it enough, and sometimes for years, before you get to see the bigger picture and how everything is. I can read DNA. I can listen to my DNA. It talks 24 hours a day. I didn't have that capability in the beginning because I wasn't in tune with my own light body. I had too much density. I had too many human thoughts. I had too many human beliefs. And as you clear all that stuff. So now I'm going to say this, Linda. There are cosmic frequencies activating 24 hours a day. I know we got off the topic of love too, and that's what you guys want to talk about. So we're going to come back around to that. But there are cosmic.
I have to go through this to really understand what love is.
Well, and I can go, I wrote a whole bunch of stuff out just so I stayed focused, and now I know why, because we can do that too. Love is not what we think it is. Okay. There are levels of love based upon our level of consciousness. Soul love is the opposite of what human love is. But we can't experience that love until we open up access, and it's done through portals and gateways and all these things we talk about on a cellular level, through our heart opening all of the way. And I wrote a piece the other day about the human heart and the higher heart so people could understand. Your human heart, when you start opening up to love, starting to love yourself completely. This is different. This is complete self-acceptance. This is complete, pure self-love first. And on a human level, we didn't have self-love. So this is coming to love ourselves completely, no matter what we look like, no matter how big we are, no matter what our hair looks like, no matter what, because the body isn't who we are. Who we are is inside, and humans can't see who each other are because they don't have that connection. We connect on an energetic level. I connect with your soul. I read your energy signature. I can see your soul. I can see your purity. I can see your beauty.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm saying this to make a point. I can see your beauty, your divine essence, your presence. I can see your heart. I can see how much you care. I can also see, not you, Linda, but I'm making a point. With every person I come into contact with, I can also still see how conscious or unconscious they are, how much resistance they have, how much the old realities have a hold on them, how much they're still trying to hold on to the old. I can see the programming. I can see the limits. I can see the lack of self-love. I can see the lack of love for each other. I can see the lack of connection. I can see those things. And in my reality, I get to choose who I want in my reality. Mine are going to be people who actually live from that unity, love, purity from within themselves, and are open and share and care too.
Do we bounce back and forth? Because some
yes, ma'am, 24 hours a day.
I feel like wide open today, not so much. Like, so that fluctuation. So we're not expected, and I guess this is probably, you're going to say this is an ego question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
But I will point it out. I'll go, that's an ego question. I call it ego. I tell somebody every time your ego's talking. I just did a class the other day, and every person I looked at them, I said, your ego's talking to me.
Okay.
And I got to shift them and get them out of the ego, which is the beautiful part. We can. It's not a judgment. So many people get caught up in, oh, you're in your ego. We're supposed to understand we're in our ego so we can choose to shift out of that ego. Ego is separation. Ego is duality. Ego is lack.
Well, ego is also, I think, expectation, because I was beating myself up going like, with this new challenge for me, I'm feeling that rocking back and forth of going, everything's
yes,
going to be fine. I trust my soul, and God has it under control. I think, and then fear comes in, and I bounce back over here, and I thought maybe I'm doing something wrong because
you're playing from a separation of God, though. I want to say this to you right now. When you say God has it under control, you don't understand your light body as God consciousness.
We're all right, but meaning
it's source consciousness. But when you separate off into a separate entity, you're immediately not understanding that's you.
Right. Well, I get that. I'm connected to God. We are all one. Like when I say God, I mean all of us together.
God consciousness. God consciousness is different than a God up there.
Got it. Okay. So God consciousness.
God consciousness, there's a God particle in each one of us.
Right.
Okay. And it's connecting with that God source spark. Connecting with that God. So, because it's what actually brings each person into source creator energy.
Yes.
It's a different, if we're maintaining an ego mindset of God has it under control, you're giving your power away and you're still waiting for something to happen somewhere else. You still are not connected.
Right. It's not a co-creation at that point. It's a handing off.
Well, and it even becomes, when you come into unification within yourself, fully become one, there's no co-creating anymore. That's why I don't use the word co-create. The human aspect uses co-creation. Okay. So I don't even do it with people in my reality. I create my reality. I'm fully responsible for my reality. I come from love and purity within my reality. And I come together and unite with other people who live that way too. We're not co-creating. I'm bringing my created reality that I'm responsible for. We're not dumping stuff on each other's doorsteps. We're not showing up waiting for anybody else to do anything for us. We're fully responsible. We've recreated and realigned our realities on a soul level. We live from that pure place. We live from that pure love. And so, yes, Sandra, I know, Linda, Sandra, we're going to be bought back and forth. This is called, okay, so pre-ascension, and there's different phases of there's not just one light body. There's tons of light bodies, and each one has a different dynamic and geometric, okay? But the thing about it is this is about your trusting. Yeah. When you are saying to me or anybody or yourself, it's story, it's beliefs. It's shifting our perceptions. Our perception is that my soul isn't going to look out for me, my soul. When in essence, it's your ego aspect that's separated from your soul. And that's the one that keeps you living in the lack and the fear because you don't trust. What you're saying is, I don't trust my higher self. I don't trust the purest part of me. And what you're actually saying is that I can't maintain that place inside of me. Mm-hmm. I can't maintain that connection. I can't come from that pure place. And the bebopping back and forth and the being all over the place, that's expansion and contraction. When your heart opens, your energy, your consciousness expands. And it's soft and it's beautiful and it's connected and there's no fear. It's beautiful, it's bliss, and it's magic. The moment something happens that triggers your fear, your heart closes, your body actually drops into a lower dimension in that moment. And so.
Well, it even feels that way because it feels heavier.
It does. Yeah.
You know, normally I run around like a butterfly, but this is like it's achy and heavy. Like you really feel it whole body.
That's density. Okay. So when you say I feel that, that's density, that's linearity, that's your ego, that's your old matrix. You can call it, it's whatever gets you through it. Okay, so here's the thing. When you're there, don't judge it.
Okay.
When you're there, understand it's an important part of the process, but you get to go through it based upon your level of consciousness. If you're unconscious, you're going to be miserable.
Right. And and just accept the way it is.
Well, yes. But for our human ego, we don't accept things. And so acceptance is the first thing. Okay. Once you accept it as an important part of the process, the question is, what does your body need right now? Well, my body. So here's the thing. You look at your body, your light body is your soul body. What does my soul body, does my light body need right now? Well, I need to be alone. I need everybody to go away. I need to build my light and find my light inside. I need to take care of me. You will become the most important thing so that you can build your light, reconnect with your light, love yourself completely and stop judging. The expectation is a part of the process because what happens, it's a duality game.
And is that why I feel the need, even though it's 36 out, to go outside and be in the sun and be in nature and get out of my house? Like,
because it activates your light body. Yes. It'll bring your body into a higher vibration. Sometimes when you're inside, it gets too intense and you need to go outside so your vibration can raise. And so a lot of people, they'll sit in it and go, but nothing's changing. My reality's not changing. Well, it's up to you. Energy has to move. Yeah. Now it changes. Each light body phase is different. And so when your body is photonic light shuts your body down until your DNA has rewritten itself so you can hold that light and function. It's a whole different level of functioning.
When, like last summer and before that, when I was so tired on the couch, but I wasn't sick, and I would just have to remember. I almost fell asleep on the show with you.
When photonic light activates inside your body, it's going to do many things. Photonic light is going to start rewriting your DNA. It's photonic activity. It's quantum. Okay. It's going to shut your human down so that it can work through the programming, so that it can clear the unconscious realities and timelines from inside of you so it can clear the veils of amnesia, so your body can raise its vibration. There's a ridiculous amount of stuff going on inside of your body that the human aspect can't understand or see. Before I was conscious, now being unconscious doesn't mean we're bad people. This is get past the good, the bad, the right, the wrong. That's a duality game.
Right.
Just because we're unconscious doesn't mean we're not kind, doesn't mean we don't care.
Right.
But this is a very different level of caring. This is from the depths of the core of your being. You actually care about everybody and everything, yourself included. So different phases, we forgot ourselves. We cared about everybody else first. This is a reversal process. When your DNA repair is a reversal process of everything. The fifth dimensional body, everything's been reversed. Okay? So the human uses the healing word, when in essence, what we're saying is the DNA is so degraded. The DNA is so broken down that we have to repair our DNA by detoxing and clearing our body and bringing it into vibrational alignment so it can work in unison, which is the activation of the light body. Your light body repairs your DNA for you. It fixes all health issues. So all the perceptions of healing and broken and conditions, all of that. And this is what when I first realized fifth dimension, there's no sickness. Mm-hmm. I was like mind blown because I had come into the fifth dimension and started to understand. This is a repairing your DNA by loving your body, by supporting your light body, by it being your priority. As you love and support your light body, your priorities change. Your life actually gets really simple. It's not complicated anymore. All the complication is the human ego. It's all excuses. It's to keep us from returning to love.
Is that why people find love so difficult when we're in the third, or because the ego is holding that back from us?
Because I would say, instead of making the ego the bad guy, say that they live in from their ego. And so here's the thing, is that our ego is an aspect of us. It's just the unconscious aspect of us. It's to realize that the moment we see our ego, we can shift out of living from our ego. And it means we have to open our heart. Well, the ego aspect, the human aspect, it's the 3D. We label it different things. It doesn't really matter how we want to look at it. It's not judgment. Human will start labeling things and get all caught up in judgment. Criticism, ego criticizes and judges. And so it's about transcending judgment and seeing how this works from a place of love. The acceptance is first, because if you can't accept it, you're constantly fighting the whole process.
Right.
So are all of the people in the third who think that they are so loving or being loved or experiencing love, it's the tip of the iceberg and they really aren't really understanding it?
Well, close your eyes for me for a moment so that you can understand what you just asked me. I want to say, because we don't understand what we're actually saying.
Yeah.
Okay. You just said to me, are all the people in the third? Understanding that part of the comment, the third dimension is the heart closed. So the rest of the sentence in the story you just said, if we're in the third dimension, it's not love, period. So you just said to me, are all the people in the third, blah, 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 because you're lumping everybody together in the third dimension. The third dimension is now, this is a big one for everybody to understand. When we came through the 2012 gateways, the third dimension is no longer your only physical reality. The fourth dimension, the fifth dimension, they are physical realities. They are not an etheric realm, except if you're in the third dimension, they are. We live fifth dimensional realities. We live sixth dimensional, seventh dimensional. Now we have 12 going.
And we can slip back into third too, right?
You can, if you go unconscious and go to sleep. And so let me say this to Sandra. How do you slip back in the third?
Well, I felt I slipped back into third when I went to that whole fear thing with my mortgage.
Close your eyes for me for a moment. Yes. You're going to start realizing what brings fear in for you.
Okay.
Now, let's really look at what you just said. So this is, we got to really look at what we're saying, because we don't even understand what we're saying. And that's been a big thing lately, is people don't understand what they're saying. They're talking, but what they're doing is they're transmitting out duality, dualistic beliefs. You have more than one belief running, and you don't understand you have more than one belief. And so it transmits out confusion, and it returns confusion.
Sure.
When you say whatever you just said, I can't even remember what you just said.
I said I felt that I slipped back into the third dimension when I got afraid.
Close your eyes for me for a moment. That's where I want to go.
Okay.
Close your eyes. Do you understand the third dimension is your root chakra and fear?
Oh.
Your heart is closed. I know, but I need to say this to you. When you drop back down out of your pure heart, your higher heart, which is in the center of your chest, which is why so many people are going through all the heart palpitations and the thymus region and all this kind of stuff, is because the physical density, all of the frequency light upgrades flew. All of the bronchitis, this is clearing the heart region. This is clearing the lungs. This is clearing the whole chest wall of density.
Okay.
This is a DNA repair thing. It's not what anybody thinks. What everybody thinks this is the opposite of the truth. Everything is. Okay? You have to understand how photonic DNA works before we understand any part of this process. You have photons activating in your body, awakening your light body so your heart can open and get you out of your root chakra, get you out of that fear.
Okay.
When you say to me, I slip back, in essence, what you just said to me, I closed my heart.
Yes. That's just what it felt like.
Yes.
I don't feel love. Like I tried to hold my dog just to open it up.
That's because you're in your head. I really want everybody to understand this because it's so important and it's misunderstood. Everybody says, I slipped back into third dimension. When you can say those words, that is your answer.
Right.
That your heart has closed, that you have gotten back into your head, that your body has re-entered, literally, it's called teleporting. Your body teleports in and out of dimensions, but we don't have the capability to understand how physical matter works in photonic light, okay? Your body is in the third dimension because you have gone back to survival mode, which is your root chakra, and your heart has closed, which is where your human head kicks in. Most people think that being in their head, that all the thoughts are up here. That's the opposite of the truth. That is your root. I'm going to say root chakra, but it's not even that. It's much bigger than that. But your heart has closed. So where you function from is the lower half of the body until when those poles flip that I was talking about, you're going to start moving to the top half of your body, which is where your heart is.
Right. And is that why everything feels so tight in my chest and so like
because you're clearing density.
It feels like I'm wearing a shirt that's too tight or a too tight bra.
Your body won't fit for a while. It's going to expand, it's going to contract, and because your consciousness is expanding, and eventually your consciousness will break down through all of that density and bust through your body, and you'll just be this huge field of consciousness with a body inside your field. It's very bizarre and weird. Okay. Yes. You're feeling the density. This is about shifting from a thinking reality. Somebody on my wall yesterday said, I'm confused. Good. You're supposed to be confused. You are shifting from a thinking to a feeling reality. Well, 3D, we didn't like to feel.
Yeah, right.
We don't want to feel all that stuff.
Right.
4D is where we all sit. It's called purgatory. It's called Bardo. That's where we stay to clear the density and start repairing our DNA. That's where all the human healing occurs. So every person going through healing, it's a fourth dimensional thing.
Okay.
The moment we have completely healed and become whole within ourselves on a soul level, we merge into one. That's where oneness is experienced. That's just the beginning, though. Everybody thinks I did it. I felt oneness. It's amazing. Well, fifth multidimensional new earth is bigger and much vaster than anybody ever understood. Anchoring New Earth into our physical reality and completely reconstructing our lives according to New Earth frequencies is an entire process that affects every aspect of our lives. So in the beginning, you know, I saw somebody send out an email yesterday because I watched the world to see where everybody exists. You observe reality and you see all the different dimensions and you see what's going on in all of them. And so when you get into fifth dimension and higher, it's everybody in service to humanity, but it's different levels of service and stuff. When you're in 3 and 4D, it's self-service. But it's 4D is service to self from a love place, not a selfish place. But we still don't have the capability to maintain full wide open consciousness at that point because we haven't merged and gone through the duality, and we keep bebopping back between 3D and 5D. 4D is a back and forth process. 4D, we stay there until we choose 5D as our only reality. 4D, I know, which everybody doesn't want to do because it means surrendering your ego.
Right. It means surrender.
Surrendering your ego. And so now I'm going to say this to make a point. All those near-death experiences are a part of a process of ego death.
And surrendering. And
surrendering to a higher state of consciousness and living that consciousness here. 5D is living the consciousness. 5D is, this is how I live my life. But every dimension above that is more than before. And each one has a different light body phase. And each one has a very different physical, you have a different physical reality. It's more colorful. It's vibrant. My physical reality when I walk in the world is completely magical and amazing and beautiful. Now, if I bring something in, we're always going through passageways and stuff that we have to clear. We call them initiations. You can call them whatever you want to. We don't get hung up on the words. We're trying to make a point when we use words. Humans get caught up in the words.
Right.
Okay.
Saying, you know, this beautiful and everything is light and beautiful. It sounds like people who haven't had an NDE experience passing over because it's so beautiful and they're in complete love and they don't want to
feel it. But this is the part, Linda, that NDE, they get to have the feeling so they know what it is. This is about the feeling of that beauty, the feeling of that oneness, because that's what activates your higher consciousness
to know
DNA
it exists.
Right.
On earth here in our bodies.
Exactly. And so when I started doing this, see, here's the thing. The human aspect doesn't understand pure love, and then it has all these worthiness issues and it has all these belief systems. It'll actually reject it because it doesn't believe it's worthy. Mm-hmm. So there's this whole game playing that goes on. The moment you feel that pure love, Linda, nothing else matters. Nothing else is important. That's the only thing that makes sense. The only thing is everybody has these physical realities that don't align with that. The activation of the consciousness is the beginning so that we can feel it and even understand it exists. But then it's looking at the outside world going, but wait a minute, my reality isn't aligned. This is where each person, it's up to them to start aligning their whole reality with love. Aligning, this is where the personal responsibility comes on. You don't get to live, Linda, I'm making points here.
Right.
We don't get to live those realities until we return to that love. Fifth dimension is a returning to that love.
Well, like your website, Awakening to Remembering.
Returning. Fifth dimension is a returning to consciousness, returning to love consciousness, a returning. It's how we live our life. We live. The people in my lives, which are very small, I keep a very small world because each person has to fully live this for us to be in each other's reality, or there's no reality. There's no point. It doesn't serve a purpose.
Right.
And so your reality becomes very small as you rebuild everything, and you hold, as you hold that state of consciousness, which is that pure love, the near-death experience, that moment is a breaking down of the ego realities, a breaking down of the ego's constructs, a breaking down process that begins the ego death process that for the next 6 months, 3 years, 10 years, doesn't really matter, is going to then be a process of breaking all of those linear constructs down, breaking all those belief systems down, breaking down all the ego resistance that's in the way of having that reality.
Yep. Before
2012, if you will, and I use that as a reference point, but it started long before then. This has always been going on. So people go, oh, I've known this my whole life. That's because all along the way, they would have moments. Yeah. All along the way, they would have an experience. But there was still unconscious programming that needed to play out. We don't understand on a human level, which means it takes shifting to your soul, your higher self aspect, in order to understand anything and stop judging. The near-death experiences, Linda, occur to assist each person with breaking down the old physical realities faster. It can be very harsh. It can be very abrupt. Our ego doesn't like this process. It fights it at all costs. And so when we understand that near-death experience, the ego can't get to the fifth dimension.
Right.
It's done through feeling and connecting and that purity that you feel. Your ego is the thing stopping. And so the ego has to break down and dissolve. And we have when we're the conscious one and coming from a place of love, we see the ego, but it doesn't have any control. Mm-hmm. We see the ego, but it's BS. We see the ego in its linear density. There are levels of, each dimension is a different level of density. Each dimension is a different level of a quantum state of consciousness versus a linear one. And so the more quantum our own state of consciousness, the higher dimension, the less density our physical body holds. My physical body doesn't hold the density that it did. It took years and years and years and years and years to break. Years is linearity. To break all that density down inside of my body by being conscious of myself and choosing, I'm not going to let my ego run the show. I'm not going to let that, and learn. And it's a physical thing. So there's density around the heart. So by me observing like entire collectives that are coming through now, in order to, Linda, I'm going to say to you that feeling, that is feeling an ascended state of consciousness. The moment of death, if you will, and death is different here. Okay? Humans, the human body dies because of the ego. The ego is what causes human death.
Oh, really? I thought it was the soul was done with this body onto the next.
That's an aspect of the truth.
Okay.
But the thing about it is the soul can't take over the body as long as the ego's in control. So technically that's the same truth from a different version of the truth. If you diamond light consciousness, you get to see all the different aspects of the truth. Yeah. Okay. The ego, as long as it maintains control of the physical body, our light body can't fully activate. Our heart has to be open for our light body to activate. Our light body is our soul. And so what we're saying is that my ego aspect refuses to give my soul control of my body. So my light can't integrate into my body so that my body can self-sustain. The light is what sustains the body and gives it life. Mm-hmm. So all the heart issues, that's the heart closed. That's light trying to activate. And so many people right now going through heart stuff, heart. And we got hit hard a couple of days ago with new atomic codes, and they go straight to everything. And they start rewriting on an atomic level each person's DNA and the physical reality. It also makes people go nuclear. All their emotions are coming up. Any human stuff, when we hit atomic a couple days ago, anything that's not okay, anything that isn't love, anything, it's all coming up.
I think we experienced that, Sandra.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was exactly, but that's what it was. Yeah.
We go nuclear, and anything unresolved inside, it's coming up with full force a lot of the times. It's usually because it's all existences. It's not just this one. Our soul is in every existence. Our soul is not just this existence. This existence is the 3D human reality. And so it's really opening our mind to see different perspectives and from different places, and understanding your ego is what kills your body because your heart is closed. And because your heart is closed, your body dies. But I'm putting it in very simple terms.
Good.
Good for us.
Your ego, being in control of your body, shuts your heart down and tries to function from your head and control everything. And it suppresses your light. Your light can't move through your body, through your blood, through your flesh, through your veins, through your oxygen, and awaken your body and bring it through to the higher dimensional realms. It's trying really hard, and the ego's fighting against the process because it doesn't fit into the boxes.
Right.
Multidimensionality and ascension, ascended new earth. So the reason so many people are going through what they're going through right now is because the vibration on the earth is so high, of the earth. And it's radiating out all these different frequencies cosmically and all this stuff. And all of this is going on inside of the body. And changing each person's genetic makeup. But our human is still trying to control the process and fit it back into an old box of what reality is. And they can't coexist in the same space.
Right.
The ego is the suffering. Anytime you're suffering, you're in your ego. You're in your head.
Right.
The physical part is the clearing of the density and how deep asleep we were. So I was deep asleep. So I went through a ridiculous amount of intensity for years and years and years and years. And there were times I could barely walk. There were times I could barely breathe. There were times, and you get through it, and your body's clearing the density. It's how we go through it. Once I started understanding all of this was for me, and that my body was clearing a ridiculous amount of stuff, my mentality changed, my perception changed, and I actually got on board with the process and started assisting my body and listening to my body and loving my body and supporting my light body.
Right.
Your light,
listing everything.
Your light body is energy. And so the human.
A question and a comment from Fred, who couldn't be with us today.
I know, I saw he's missing. Where are Fred?
He's waiting for his 4th refrigerator, and a whole nother show on that one. But I had a dream last night that I want to ask you about, because I think you keep saying clearing, 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 and I keep hearing clearing, clearing, clearing.
24 hours a day is clearing, by the way.
Okay. So this dream I had was, and it was repeated throughout the whole night, and so
you can remember it.
Yes, and they were like playing cards that kept flashing by, playing cards, but they were baby clothes from like the 70s. They were all these. There was a palm tree. There was things from looked like from an encyclopedia. It was all flashing. And then when I
clearing of your, it's an Akashic records clearing.
That's what, when I woke up this morning, because I really don't know Akashic, but all it said was Akashic records. And I sat up in bed and I thought, I need to ask Lisa about this today, because they looked like a deck of cards flipping, but I kept going, slow down, slow down, slow down. I want to see that. I want to see that.
Yeah. No, this is what's happening is when you're in those states, you're in photonic light. You're laying in photonic light right then. You're having a photonic experience, if you will. No, I'm putting it in different words. That's the clearing of the Akashic record. Some people will see in film strips. You're seeing in decks of cards. It doesn't really matter, but it flashes really fast. And as what's happening is to understand this, and I did a Akash clearing thing explaining what this is the heightened emotions. When the body releases the emotions, it'll clear that Akash. So look at all the people with the emotions coming up right now. All of that is an Akashic clearing, the whole thing.
Got it.
All those decks of cards or the film strips that we go through, that's what held those illusory realities in place. That's the energy that was binding us to those realities. So as you're clearing all of those things, that energy is clearing and you're seeing it go really fast.
Yep.
What happens is the reason the old had such a hold on us is because we held the energy for it in our body. Photonic light works through the body and it amplifies distortions. It amplifies everything not love. it makes it loud. It makes distortion scream, because we didn't understand the 3D reality was a distorted reality. The 3D reality, the whole thing was an illusion. Yesterday, the words were, which illusion do you want?
Right.
It's the level of consciousness you function from dictates your physical reality. And this is what's going on around the planet, is the level of consciousness that the 3D functions at is fear. The level of consciousness that 4D function at is confusion and choosing, and 1 foot in each dimension. I got a little bit in the third, I got a little bit in the fifth. It's the level of consciousness while the body clears the density and all the energy and the programming. 5D is return to oneness, where you become, you unify with your soul. And inside of you, you never lack for anything ever again, but you got to rebuild your whole reality from scratch from that point forward. Everything's different here. Every reality has to be aligned through consciousness. A lot of people don't understand consciousness is love. They think it's something different than it actually is. It's just the level of consciousness. The love is pure. Soul love is pure. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have expectations and needs and lack and demands and all this stuff. It's a pureness. It's innocence. It's a different type of love that loves no matter what.
Right.
You know, even the human plays in condition and unconditional love. The moment you say unconditional love, you're still playing in duality.
Right.
It's either pure, from the purest place inside of you, from the depth of the core of your being, of who you are. It's either pure from a deeply connected space inside of you. It's pure divinity. It's our divine essence. It's the purity of who we are without all of the matrix programs going on. There's a crystalline matrix, which is a Christed matrix, that they evolve into different levels of matrices, okay? But it's occurring in the body. What each person faces is living that consciousness, that level of love. Each dimension, the higher you go, is a deeper level of love. It's a deeper sacred connection. And so then you get into the galactic core, which is another whole ball game. The reason I say this is because I've been observing a lot of people the last many months, and they're all running around saying the words, but there's no connection. Right. To consciousness is pure love, treating each other with the utmost respect. The difference is, and this is where everybody gets tripped up, if you're using external to tell you how to act, if you're using a guideline that somebody told you something, soul level loves each other through our feeling and our connection with each other, which is where the human gets tripped up, because the moment it feels that, it wants that, it kicks all their lack in, all the lack and need, all the obsessive behavior, all the twin stuff kicks in. And we do have to go through all those matrix games. The ego is a matrix game. The whole thing is. Mm-hmm. It's duality playing out. It's separation within ourselves. It's each person not living as pure source consciousness, pure love within themselves. And every reality we experience up to the point of being able to hold and maintain that is the clearing of everything that is not. So when you contract back down, it's a contraction. Your heart closes, your cells close, your body shuts down, your light is no longer in control, your heart is no longer open, and your ego is in fear. For each person to understand, fear is the absence of love. Fear is the absence of that divine connection. Fear is the disconnection from your own soul.
Which is why it feels so lonely.
Which is why it feels so lonely, because when you reconnect to that beautiful, magnificent place inside of you and you reconnect on a soul level, you're not lonely anymore. Mm-hmm. The loneliness goes. So it's really understanding the depth of the connection, the deeper we function from the depth inside. Well, in the beginning, we don't function from that depth because we've never delved into the abyss. That's what the ego avoids, is the abyss, if you will. All those emotions, all that kind of stuff. And moving into a higher state of consciousness is observing it all and understanding the importance and the purposes without getting caught up in the story, without giving our power away anymore, without asking everybody else to fix us.
Right.
That's just a part of opening our heart too. And so there's this isn't about judging where anybody is. This is an understanding of how vast the process of returning to full consciousness is. We can go through any experience, conscious or unconscious. Mm-hmm. Conscious means your heart is wide. Now, here's the thing. The human does this. My heart's open. The soul is wide open. Humans are running around going, my heart's open, I care. No, that's not consciousness. That's protection mode. Mm-hmm. That's fear. I can't open my heart wide open and let everybody see me as I am. I can't open my heart wide open and be real. I'll be judged. I can't open, and it's all a game.
Yeah.
When you function from a soul level, your heart is wide open and you're not in protection. You don't need to be protected. The ego is what you're protecting yourself from. It's backwards. Your ego is protecting yourself from your ego. When your heart is wide open and you're deeply connected from that bliss and the magic and that amazing place, you realize there's nothing to protect yourself from. It's all a facade. It's all an illusion of the old matrix programming. It's all a belief system. The beauty, now this is the beauty. All the gatekeepers, all the grid keepers, all the people all over the earth, that's all they do is consciousness, because they understand and they live new earth. We call ourselves new earthers. Our only reality is new earth. It's an immersion in a new reality. 3D, and I've said this a lot lately so people can get the point. 3D was an immersion into an unconscious state. 3D was an immersion. It's called coma, being in a coma. 3D was a cult. 3D, the thing about it is, it's what everybody's going through. In 2019, we talk about the linear years and all that kind of stuff. This year is everybody coming into a higher state of consciousness and breaking out of the programming, breaking it down, opening the heart and realizing that's a program. It's not what reality, that's not real. And what you're seeing is people battle truth. People battle. Consciousness doesn't battle. Consciousness is love. There's no battle. That's all ego. The whole thing is. Now, here's the thing about love. We live as love. We treat everybody, but then I have to make a point. We treat everybody with the deepest level of respect, the most care. They feel us. You feel me right now talking to you. Yeah. You know, you guys know I love you. I would be here for you. I would assist you through anything. That's love. But we choose what to allow in our own physical reality, because not everybody lives from that place fully yet. Mm. That's where we have to decide what to allow in your world, because everything you allow in your world becomes your reality. Everything you allow in your world dictates your level of consciousness, unless you can maintain a higher state of consciousness. And you dictate the reality through love. I dictate my reality through love. I let everybody know what's acceptable and what's not. If you're not going to come from the highest place and the purest place of love inside of you, the utmost respect on a soul level integrity, soul level honor, soul level respect are different than human. They're not the same thing. Well, the human aspect doesn't know what soul love integrity is, soul honor, soul agreements, doesn't understand what all this stuff is, because there's still a lot of human conditioning and programming to work through and break through. Okay? Each person has the capability through their own highest states of consciousness and love for themselves and love for each other, a love for humanity. Humans don't love humanity. Humans, 3D, is not functioning from its humanity, which is why 3D and 4D are occurring right now.
Okay.
5D is returning to your humanity. Living from that 12D is a humanitarian template where every person lives as a humanitarian here. Everything in your life supports and assists humanity. Everything in your life, everything you do is for this, because that's the only reality that is acceptable for us here. The ego plays in lesser realities, goes small, plays in lack, not enough, and it keeps the 3D matrix program going. It holds the 3D matrix in place. But what people don't understand is the matrix is inside. When you go inside, you can break the whole matrix program down and access your crystalline matrix. You have an ascended state of consciousness that functions with a different matrix program. There's an entire thing that goes on inside the body with body templates and all this kind of stuff. When we're unconscious, we don't get to participate in the process. When we're conscious, we do. I would just say, clear it from my body. I don't even care. And I go on and I spend all my days in full service to humanity, doing, creating, supporting, assisting. We have dedicated our whole life to this. I don't get tripped up on programs. If I just went through something a few weeks back, because gatekeepers and grid keepers, every equinox and solstice is going to be a massive clearing process for everybody here. And so I always know we're going, because I'm a gatekeeper and a grid keeper, I know what we're doing with the earth and universally and cosmically. My highest priority is all of those because it affects the template of every person on this earth. My highest priority is for my higher dimensional roles that support humanity, but humans don't understand what we do. Does it make sense? We actually open the portals and the gateways. We bring all the information on DNA, what's really going on for reality. We share the knowledge and the information. We re-educate and we teach. Our priority is for all of us. So what we do is for all of us from a place of love. But every person has to start to see beyond themselves and see a much bigger picture, and that every belief system, every thought you have, every act, everything you do transmits a reality out to return to you. So if you're not coming from your highest place of love, then you're transmitting out, and I'm going to say this to make a point. When we're unconscious, we don't know what our body's transmitting out. It's transmitting out mixed signals.
Right.
And so every time we say, I really want this, I really want that, what we're saying is that I'm not conscious. Frequencies are off the charts, by the way. It's been a few days of like off the charts, and we're like real high frequencies that work through the body. If everybody comes to understand all the frequencies that we hear, they actually support your light body. They tune your light body. This is a tuning process. This is a harmonizing process. So Linda, Sandra, frustration and grumpy, those are out of harmony emotions, out of harmony. This is about harmony in the body. We are in DNA harmonics now. December took us into the most beautiful harmonics on a DNA level. The beauty, because we've completed the 12D template, it now collapses 3D and 4D faster.
Okay.
What we don't understand is that 3D and 4D, it's not the physical reality as we believe it to be. It's the physical realities created from a state of consciousness. So that level of consciousness has to collapse. So the reality collapses to collapse where that's held in each person's body, so that the body can clear the density. Everything's the opposite and backwards than what everybody thinks. The cosmic love, star beings, soul love, pure love is very different than human love. Human love is attachment, cords, need, lack. Conditions, obsession, expectation, and it's also an identification to things. You identify love through a feeling instead of understanding the reason that we have those experiences to show us where that love is in our body. Mm-hmm. So that we can open that love up, so that we can bring forth more of that love. The reason on a human level we need the external is because we can't get to that love inside on our own. We don't know it's there. And so the 3D and 4D reality, specifically 5D, it's the beginning. It's where everybody rebirths as a child. It's where everybody has been going through ego death for a while. And you finally come to a point that you resolve and dissolve your ego and you merge inside as one. And so then that just starts an entire you move from, that's where you're able to maintain an ascended state of consciousness, but then you enter into multidimensional realities where the physical is multidimensional, which is very different. When I look inside, outside, all these things, I'm seeing all the different vibrations. I see all the light codes. I see all the different dimensions, and you can see everything. Everything's visible. It's all vibrational. Timelines, realities, they're all according to the vibration. So for a multidimensional, you're looking at the vibration and you can see the whole timeline and you go, no, I'm not going to even enter into that timeline because it's going to collapse when we get over here. So you don't even choose to take the journey through an unconscious reality anymore. You just close the whole thing out up front. And the moment you do, you open up other portals to other realities and open other doors of opportunities. You open up to a higher vibrational reality because you didn't choose the unconscious one. You didn't take less. And so I know we went all over the place, but we can only connect with others. So humans are shallow. Humans are pretentious. The human ego, there's a lot of pretending. We pretend to love. We don't really love. But what happens is that in delving and going through the ego and dissolving the ego, you find that love. And so you live from a different state of love. It's a different level of consciousness, and every level of consciousness has a purer level of love. So the higher you go, the purer you are. The higher the dimension, the deeper you go inside of yourself. So you're going to sift through everything that isn't that. The thing about it is that the higher you go, the deeper you go inside, the more you can expand your field. Right. The more expanded you become, the more love you can feel. But you're going to detach from everything of the old. So you're going to feel no feeling when you're going through a template rewrite. You have no feelings, no inspiration, no creativity. This is an important part of the process to understand. Template rewrites can take years. A lot of people don't understand, well, I don't feel anything. You're going through a template rewrite. Be okay with that right now. When I was going through my biggest template rewrites, I'm going to say long before the fifth dimension, because I was going through bebop and back and forth and stuff like that too. I started understanding that I could actually open my heart by doing kind things for other people. That's your angel energy. And so you spend your life doing kind things. So the higher the dimension, the kinder you are, the more generous you are. You're not functioning from a root chakra of survival. Everything you have comes from a place of gratitude. So I'm going to you, Sandra. My light body won't support me. My light body won't pay the bills. Yes, it will. Your light body is your soul, has all the answers to everything. It's your human that doesn't. It's going to guide you and instruct you and show you and open portals and opportunities to things to come that will support you. But your ego is disconnected from the opportunities. You don't get the opportunities because your heart's closed and you're discounting everything, and you want to control how it comes through and what it is, and you don't get to control that part anymore. Right. So your light body not only will support you, it'll bring through immense abundance, immense everything, because where you function from is abundant. I function from a state of abundance inside of me, so I share the abundance with everybody. Right. Here's the thing. We're to share. We are to support in every aspect of our life. Humans don't share. They're little children. Right. When I call human, I'm talking about the ego. That's okay. Humans don't share their abundance. It's like, oh, I made some money. It's all mine. That's not how this works. If you make money, there's a portion of your money that has to go back out to support New Earth. We have to designate everything. If you're supporting the old, you're not going to have any money. You will start to see how all this works. What I was saying before is that when you open up to New Earth realities, when you actually, not you, but you know what I mean. When I say you, I mean you, all we, okay?
Good reminder.
I'm talking I's and we's, and when each one of us opens up to New Earth being our only reality, then you start to become a participant and a contributor to New Earth. You start to build your New Earth realities. You start to create your New Earth realities. You start to align to the vibrational frequency of New Earth. New Earth is where all your abundance is. So when you're saying, my light body won't support me, that's because your heart is closed and you're functioning separated on old Earth. You're not a part of the New Earth grid of all of us.
Right.
If everybody understood there's an entire network and grid, gatekeepers, grid keepers, all the people doing consciousness, that's New Earth. We're New Earth. We come together. We are the new. Old Earthers, I'm making a point here, duality, don't get to live New Earth realities because they're living in separation from all of this. It's the opposite. The ego is what costs us everything. You actually have to miss out on all the magic and the amazing and the fun. The ego is missing out on the awesome stuff. We're living it. The reason I say this is because we're living as love. We're living kindness. You know, the other day we had this conversation. People are running around and marking heroes for doing a kind act. And we're sitting here going, we live this kindness with our every breath. We're all heroes. Nobody's a hero but to the human. And somebody came over the other day, or she's here actually with me now. She's like, Lisa, people don't live this way. I don't see that in my reality. She walks in my house. She's like, Lisa, this is a whole different dimension. I'm like, I know. Your body functions in the dimension that it vibrates at. And so it's clearing density, clearing density. What you're clearing is your separation and your disconnection from New Earth realities that already exist. You only get to experience them when your heart is open and you're living from kindness and generosity and love and interconnected and caring and taking everything into consideration. When you're being conscious of your words, when you're being conscious of your acts, when you realize the only way you get to experience New Earth is when you step up and start to contribute and fulfill your higher consciousness roles. New Earth is higher consciousness fulfilling higher purpose roles for humanity. So every person saying, I'm not ready to step into my roles, I'm not ready to do this, I'm not doing they're going to live in old Earth reality until they're ready. Well, the being pissed off and the being fed up and the being, I told Linda earlier, I don't get frustrated. I don't get any of those things anymore because I decide. The delay is the postponing. The delaying is waiting for another day. Living a quantum state of consciousness, everything is instant. It's right now. The moment I realize something isn't aligned with purity consciousness, and I bring it into alignment myself, I'm going to align the reality. There is no acceptable, we're not going to live as love here anymore. The difference is I choose. The frustration. That's right.
Did you get faster at that? Because I knew something.
You do. It's the crystals in your body.
And I kept, like having this little struggle. Mm-hmm. That's why I wanted to talk about this today. And I've got to take us to the
I know.
I could go forever with you, but I want to thank you because you cleared up why all of this happened at once. Like it didn't happen nice and neat and easy. It all happened at once. And I could feel that struggle. And I'm sure many, listeners and viewers today can recognize that struggle. And
do whatever it takes to get your heart open and get out of your head. Do whatever it takes to get your heart open. When your heart's wide open, your head doesn't have control. It'll dissolve. Your memories will go. You won't remember, and you won't care. When you get to that place where you don't care about the old anymore, you're going to start caring from a deeper place, and it's from a place of love inside of you. It's a deep interconnected caring that doesn't care about the old. And so, Linda, when you guys are talking about these emotions, that's the separation. That's what keeps us from our joy. That's I'm not ready to make a decision. That's being fed up. That's I'm going to say this really quick. A lot of us, when you go through relationships, everybody's holding on to the old relationships. You have to let the relationships go. You have to let the whole reality go. There are certain things we do have to do if we want the new realities. And so what happens is we see that there's new realities available, but on an ego level, we're like, no, I'm not ready to do what it takes.
Right.
We have to be willing to do whatever it takes to live a higher consciousness reality here, and from a place of love and connectedness with each other. We have to be willing to unite and come together and live as love. Otherwise, we're going to live the old realities until we're done.
All right, I'm going to take us to the end of the show. Thank you, Lisa Transcendence Brown, awakeningtoremembering.com. Thank you, my wonderful co-host in New York City, Linda Franklin. We're going to say a shout out to Fred, who wasn't with us today. We hope that his fridge issues resolve, and we'll be back again shortly with another show.